I saw a quote today or yesterday from Rio Ferdinand talking about Van Nistelrooy. Did you see this?
No.
Van Nistelrooy, when he wasn't getting service, he would just walk off the pitch in training. Because what's the point of being there? I'm saying, what about Sesko? And that's what Rio Ferdinand's saying. Sesko should do the same. I mean, you're saying he was quiet today, he got his goal, but if he's not getting the service, there's only so much he can do.
Yeah, I think... I think you earn the right to do that in terms of what Rio's saying. Ruud van Nistelrooy, who came into the football club and was extraordinary from the outset in terms of his hunger to score goals and his pattern, and that's the reason I'm sure he would have walked to the training pitch.
Isn't his price tag sort of like that as well, in a way? I mean, if you're paying so much money for an individual, he has a right to say something on the training ground, doesn't he?
Yeah,
to react in such a way.
We're not privy to obviously what goes on in the training ground, but like, he's a striker, isn't he, that needs service. He's not someone who's going to pick the ball up, dribble past 5 players and stick it in the top. Something maybe Cunha could do, but Sesko is reliant on service. I mean, a ball went in the box today and it ended up in the back of the net. But you feel for him to score a lot of goals, lots of crosses need to go into the box with quality. They need to play quicker, because if he can stretch teams and he can get in behind, he's a quick lad. Even the size of him, he makes good runs in behind. They've got to move it quicker to allow that to happen. So you're right in what you're saying in terms of he needs better quality, but I think maybe sometimes you need to earn the right to walk off a training pitch because you're not getting that sort of quality or that quality of service into you.
I think the demand should still be there, though. And I take your point, Adam. I think when you come to Manchester United as a player, then you step onto that pitch as I'm the main man, especially if you're a striker. You know, I was very fortunate to play with some of the best strikers in the Premier League. And when I was at Newcastle with Alan Shearer, and we had Laura Mabera and Nobby Solano on the wing, you know, at half time they were getting it. If 5 crosses didn't come in that first half, they were getting it. You know, you'd have had a similar situation anytime you got onto the pitch of Manchester United. It was like the demands of the top players are that. So if I'm Manchester United, I'm going to buy a centre forward. Yeah, okay, he might score a load of goals, but I'm looking at also his characteristics and the makeup of that centre forward whilst he's playing, over in the Bundesliga. And if I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, well, he's a bit shy, a bit quiet, how's he going to carry the shirt of Manchester United? You need to have arrogance. You need to have that presence about you when you're on the football pitch. And again, I'm watching today, and you don't want to judge him too much yet because it's new, and the whole environment of coming to Manchester United is different, especially when they're going through a struggling phase. But nobody said this about Wayne Rooney when he arrived. Wayne Rooney was like, "Are you having a laugh? Give me the ball, and I'll show you exactly. I'll show you what I'm about." And if that's the mentality that you have to have at Manchester United. You have to, even to the point where, I would like to think that it'd be starting to have a word about the penalties. Like, I'm a centre forward. I take the penalties here. Bruno, you've been the main man for God knows how long, but I'm knocking on the door because that's the mentality you have to have when you wear that Manchester United shirt. And it's going to take him time. He's a young lad and he'll learn and figure it out. But your point is exactly right. It really is. You've got to have character. You've got to have that resilience about you. And players respond to it. If I'm in midfield and I've got him screaming at me saying you're not giving me the ball.
They do. You do react to it.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, well, I'm doing my job. But at the same time, if I'm not releasing that ball quick enough, if my centre forward's making runs and he makes 1 or 2 runs, he's expending energy doing that. And if I don't give him the ball, trust me, 1 or 2 minutes later, they're looking at you like, are you taking the mick? Like, I want the ball now. And, half time, you'll be having arguments about it. And then by the time you go back out in that second half, you start to do things quicker, because, again, the best players demand the best. And the reality is, Sesko's going to be judged on his goals. So he's going to have to start shouting at somebody. It's no point coming in and going, oh, well, I'm not getting any service. Tell them they're not giving you any service. And then when that ball starts coming into the box, if you're missing chances, then it's on you. But if the ball's not coming at all, you've got to start opening your mouth and letting people know.
There's an article or something with Carlo Ancelotti talking about I think he's promoting his new book, talking about his experiences at different clubs. And one fallout he had with Roman Abramovich was when he pulled off Torres. The owner didn't like it. Yeah. And it just feels like there's sometimes an obligation to play the big names.
What do you want? Do you want to win? Or that's what I've been saying to my chairman. Do you want to win the game of football? Allow me to make my decisions. And I fully understand when you make, you spend big money on players. But Manchester United have been spending big money on players for years. It's not like it's not a one-off £65 million payment that they've just made. This has been happening for years at Manchester United. The standard is to win football matches. So if I'm not winning football matches, and also when time's running out, which it is for Amorim, he's going to have to start, taking a few risks. it's not even a risk, in my opinion. It's just like, how am I going to win a game of football? He's the best player to do it. He's the best player to do it. Who can I rely on? And if the chairman comes down after beating Sunderland, 3-1 and says, why ain't Sesko playing? I say, it doesn't matter. We just won the game 3-0 and I'll win it again for you next week. And I think that's where he's at. He's really in a corner here. He's got to start fighting. He's got to stand his ground somehow by making some big decisions.
I guess the other difference between the Ancelotti situation here and what's happening here is that the Torres signing was an Abramovich signing, where some of these signings feel very much like an Amorim signing. So it feels like he himself is obligated to pay them because he created the bomb squad. He said, I'm not going to have Garnacho here. I'm not going to have a Marcus Rashford involved in this side. This is my team now. I've spent the cash. I've gotten the club to spend the cash. I have to play them. Yeah. Is there a little bit of that element going on as well?
He's the manager of the team. He's been the one that's directed these signings. I'm sure had a massive say in them coming in. So he wants them to work. He's brought them in because he probably believes that they can play the system that he wants to play better than the players that have gone out. But when you do that, it has to work, doesn't it? It has to sort of come together. The system that so much spoke about the three at the back and why does he keep doing it? Why doesn't he change it? It has looked better this season, but it seems strange to say that after the performance today. But you feel like it has to happen really quickly. But we probably haven't seen signs of it happening consistently so far, and I think that's the biggest challenge, isn't it?
It's just that you said before he's stubborn, and he's nailed himself to the mast in the sense that he said, I'm not going to change. Early doors when he first came here, I'm going to play the three at the back, and it feels like maybe some of his team selections are following down that path as well.
Yeah, which is, I think it's a silly statement to make. It's his first time coming into the Premier League as well, and getting used to the league and what it's about. And I think the inability to adapt is probably what will catch him out eventually. I think, you look back to, say, Antonio Conte when he came to the Premier League with Chelsea. And I think he started with the 4-4-2 system or 4-3-3 system, stuck with it, didn't quite work out, reverted back to what he knew, which is a three at the back, went and win the league. But you have to have the adaptability about yourself to be able to kind of just change things. If it's like, it's like the definition of insanity. It's what they say, and you keep doing like the wrong thing, and it keeps going wrong. Then that's on you. Like at some point, you have got to look at it, and you've got to analyse and say, right, what can we do to make a change here? And those players do not look comfortable playing in that system. Me and Luke were talking while the game was going on, and you said, you watch United all the time. He always takes off for centre half. What are you taking off your centre half for? Every single game, a Manchester United centre half comes off to put another Manchester United centre half on when you're losing.
Strange.
I don't get the theory behind it. It's not like you're bringing on a young Rio Ferdinand who's driving through the midfield and creating and making things happen. It's just like for like, and you just kind of go in like, I'm all for like new coaches. We've got two real young coaches here in Amorim and Andrews, and you want them to succeed. But unfortunately, in Amorim's situation, I can't fight his corner. He's not shown me one thing that is saying to me, give him a bit more time because he knows what he's doing. Because the proof is in the performances, and right now, all you're seeing is lacklustre and a lack of ideas within this football team.
Arsenal star Noni Madueke breaks silence after injury setback, confirmed by Mikel Arteta. Arsenal winger Noni Madueke has spoken out for the first time following the knee injury that has ruled him out for several weeks, as confirmed by manager Mikel Arteta. The 23-year-old suffered the setback early in last weekend's clash against Manchester City, and is now expected to be sidelined for 6 to 8 weeks. Taking to Instagram, Madueke shared a verse from Philippians 4 verse 6, NLT. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need, and thank Him for all He has done. The post offers a glimpse into the player's mindset, leaning on faith, staying grounded, and remaining positive in the face of adversity. Since his high-profile and somewhat surprising £48.5 million move from Chelsea, Madueke has quickly won over Arsenal fans with his energy, flair, and attacking presence. While eyebrows were initially raised at the transfer fee, few now question his impact, both for Arsenal and the England national team, where he recently netted his first goal in a 5-0 win over Serbia in Belgrade. Speaking ahead of Arsenal's League Cup tie against Port Vale, Arteta provided further updates on the situation. He'll be out for a few weeks. We're not entirely sure yet. We'll likely do another scan next week, Arteta said. He felt something early in the match and tried to carry on, but by half-time the pain had worsened. Thankfully, early indications suggest Madueke has avoided a serious ACL injury. When asked whether a short-term absence is more likely than a months-long layoff, Arteta added, "We hope so. As I said, we still need to assess it fully, but it doesn't seem too severe at the moment." In Maduke's absence, Arsenal still boasts solid depth in the attacking third. Youngster Max Dowman is expected to feature against Port Vale, while Gabriel Martinelli, Ethan Nwaneri, and Leandro Trossard are all in contention for minutes. The hope within the club is that Maduke will return to action by November 8 against Sunderland, just ahead of the highly anticipated North London derby versus Tottenham on November 23. However, he's almost certain to miss England's next international break, which follows crucial Arsenal fixtures against Newcastle, Olympiacos, and West Ham. With the 2026 World Cup on the horizon and a spot in Thomas Tuchel's England squad up for grabs, Maduke knows how important the months ahead are. Despite this temporary setback, the winger has shown resilience, and if his performances this season are any indication, he'll come back stronger than ever. Maduke's injury comes at a delicate time for Arsenal, who are juggling domestic competitions alongside a demanding European schedule. With squad rotation more crucial than ever, Arteta must now rely on the depth and adaptability of his attacking unit, especially as the club enters a period packed with high-stakes fixtures. Internally, the coaching staff is said to be cautiously optimistic. According to sources close to the medical team, Maduke is responding well to initial treatment, and there's no indication of long-term structural damage. However, his rehabilitation will be closely monitored, with particular care taken to avoid setbacks. Arsenal's medical department is expected to carry out a follow-up MRI scan next week to determine the full extent of the strain and adjust the recovery timeline accordingly. The injury has also sparked significant discussion among supporters and analysts alike, particularly around Maduke's workload and physical management since his arrival. Despite being only a few months into his Arsenal career, Maduke has featured heavily both for club and country, raising concerns about player burnout, especially in a season with little breathing room between international breaks. In the short term, the winger's absence places added responsibility on players like Martinelli and Trossard, both of whom have had inconsistent fitness records themselves. Ethan Nwaneri, although still very young, could see more minutes in wide roles as Arteta continues to integrate youth into the first-team environment. There's also speculation that Reiss Nelson, who has seen limited action this season, could benefit from an increased role during Maduke's recovery period. National team manager Thomas Tuchel has also been made aware of Maduke's condition, as England begins early preparations for the upcoming World Cup qualifiers. Though the injury rules Maduke out of the next international window, his recent performances have left a strong impression within the national team setup. A return to form in November or December could be enough to keep him in contention for a spot in the squad heading into the new year. Meanwhile, within the Arsenal camp, the mood remains focused. Speaking to reporters after the Port Vale match, several senior players expressed their support for Maduke, describing him as a positive influence in the dressing room and praising his quick adaptation to the club's playing style and philosophy. As the winger begins his recovery, all eyes will be on how Arsenal adjusts, and whether they can maintain their attacking rhythm without one of their most dynamic wide players. While the timing is far from ideal, both the player and the club appear aligned in their cautious yet determined approach. Further updates on Maduke's fitness are expected following next week's medical assessments.